in chapter 10, he deals with, he says numerous proverbs. Proverb is just a saying that's generally true. It doesn't mean it's always true, but generally true. Things that way things usually are. And Solomon wrote a whole book of Proverbs, which oddly enough is called Proverbs. And he's just making statements, things that he has discovered during his life with the wisdom that God gave him. God said, I'm going to give you wisdom like no one has ever had before you, and no one will ever have after you. So he was the wisest man to ever live. And he exercised that wisdom by his writing these two books. He actually wrote three. He wrote the Song of Solomon as well. As we all know, he didn't live up to the wisdom that he had sometimes. You know, a lot of times, how many of you ever done anything that you knew better? Better get all your hands up, because I know all of us have done something that we knew better than to do at some point in our lives. And Solomon did the same thing. He knew better, but he let other outside influences govern his decision making. He was wise enough, he just wasn't smart enough. I guess would be one way you would put it. He didn't have the street smarts, or I don't know how you.
He was human.
He was a human, exactly. And just because you know stuff doesn't mean you're gonna use it properly. And even when you're wise and know how to use it properly, doesn't mean you're always going to do it. And so this is Solomon. He was a human being like the rest of us. So it's not like some giant perfect guy standing up on a podium and preaching down to us. He's just saying, look, this is what I discovered. I set about trying to find the answer to life. And what life is he talking about? This life under the sun. How many times has he said under the sun, under the sun, under the sun, on earth? And he said it so many times, pounding it into our heads. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about how to get to heaven, even though some of the things that he says are part of how to get to heaven. He's just saying, I just wanted to find out how to live this life, how to get through life while I live it here under the sun. And he obviously wants to communicate that wisdom to, first and foremost, his own son. He's in the book of Proverbs, at the beginning of the book of Proverbs, he's talking to his son. And same thing would be true, even though he doesn't say it in Ecclesiastes. The first person going to read this book is going to be Rehoboam, but it's for all of us, just like the Proverbs are for all of us. If they're true for Rehoboam, they're true for us too. And so this book of Ecclesiastes has a lot of good stuff for us. And towards the end, in chapter 10 and 11, he starts talking to us a little bit in some Proverbs. Like, for example, verse 19 there, it says, a feast is made for laughter and wine makes merry, but money answers everything. Well, that's really a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. Money, he knows money doesn't answer everything, but that's what life under the sun, that's what we think, isn't it? You know, all our politicians, you got a problem? What do? Throw money at it and think it's gonna solve everything. It doesn't.
People, you know, I have people in my family, they add up everybody's assets to make sure they have the most.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't like it. I'm never gonna beat you and I never care.
Yeah. Well, Sue brought up her family. I'm not going to mention any names, but when her father was about to pass away, her mother had already passed, and one of her immediate family members was in a panic, him and his wife, in a panic to get to the lawyer to make sure and change some stuff in the will. while Dad was still alive to sign it. And obviously, it was things in their favor, taking money away from another one of the family members, uh, and uh, did not do anything to correct a grave mistake that the parents had made in the will of not leaving money to somebody that deserved it. That's the way people are. That's life on earth. Even brothers and sisters do that to each other sometimes. Not always, but sometimes that's the way it happens, and it's horrible. Nobody likes to see it, and I don't know. I guess the people that do it don't even think about it. You know, all they're worried about is themselves in a lot of ways. So, um, speaking of self, verse 18, it says, "Because of laziness, the building decays, and through idleness of hands, the house leaks." That's a proverb. Um, why is it that a building decays? It's because it's not taken care of. And why do people not take care of it? Well, one of the reasons is laziness. Another might be they don't have money to do it, or some other reasons. But one thing that does do it for sure is laziness. I know this needs repaired, that needs repair, but I'll get around to it sometime and someday. And over the years, things just get worse and worse. And that's why you see all these barns and houses that are just left to fall down and over time. It's because nobody takes care of them and they don't have the energy. They don't feel, they just are lazy. I have to say that they're just too lazy to do anything about it. And so these are the kind of proverbs that are found here at the end, dealing with how life works and how we get through this life. Obviously, laziness is not going to be the answer, because you don't want your house to leak, you don't want the building to decay. So that's a clue there as far as how to get through this life. And don't be lazy. Um, anyway, in the next part of chapter 10, the last part of it, he's talking about the people that are governing you, in this case, the king. Don't curse the king. Even in your thinking, don't even think about it, cursing the king. And don't curse the rich, even in your bedroom, where things are supposed to be private. For a bird of the air might carry your voice, and a bird in flight might deal the matter. That's another proverb. It's a famous one. We get that phrase, "A little bird told me," and that's how it works. Stuff gets out, no matter how much you try to keep things secret. Somehow things get out, and so be careful what you say. Just not, rather than being careful what you say, just don't say it if it's something that's not good or that's going to get you in trouble if somebody else finds out. So anyway, that's all we'll look at for chapter 10. And we're going to start looking at 11, and hopefully Keith will be back in a few minutes. I copied the file onto a thumb drive and gave it to him. I didn't check to see if it was actually there, so I'm sure it was, but I hope it's there and he found it and printed it, and we'll come back and make some copies for us. But we're going to get into chapter 11. I'll go kind of slowly so that you don't get too behind in taking notes. But chapter 11 is just more proverbs. But in these proverbs, Solomon is beginning to wind down. He's coming to the end. We have chapter 11 and chapter 12 in the book of Ecclesiastes. I should have said Ecclesiastes will be finished within 2 chapters, and so he's beginning to wind down, and he's going to be looking at the final things that he wants to say. And the idea behind this chapter is that Since life on earth is unpredictable and sometimes unfair, he's established that. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. It's not always fair. You know, the wise person gets forgotten, and the powerful person that's not very wise gets remembered, and just stuff like that. It's not always fair. Since that's true, since life on earth is unpredictable and sometimes unfair, the first 6 verses here, chapter 11 is going to deal with that idea. Since those things are true, here's some advice for you. Verses 1 through 6, he's going to be saying in a nutshell, share your wealth and be active. That's what he's going to be saying. So as we look at the verses, in verse 1 of chapter 11, he says, cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Thank you, Keith. Next time, I think you'll remember to remind me. So it's all his fault. You know that. Anyway, cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it in many days. What on earth could that possibly mean? It's pretty obvious that that's a idiom. It's a phrase that they used in their time that meant something. We don't use that. When have you ever said cast your bread upon the waters? I haven't ever. Well, what it means is when you throw bread on the water, what are you doing?
Feeding the ducks.
You're feeding the fish. You're throwing away something that belongs to you and throwing it out there. Do you know who's going to get it? You know whether it's that big bass that you want to catch later, or maybe some little guppy. You know, you don't know. You're just casting it out there in hopes of something good will happen, and something good will happen. What he's saying is just spread your wealth, and I don't just mean your money wealth. I mean everything that you have that's valuable. You have a talent for whatever it is. Get it out there, throw it out, use it, let people get the benefit from it, whether it's, like I said, whether it's money or your ability to teach or ability to give advice when people are having troubles in life or whatever. Get it out there. Don't just sit on a rock and let life go by. Excuse me. He says, because it's going to come back. You'll find it after many days. Now, in the case of throwing bread upon the water, you may be feeding the fish and it gets big and big, and you throw your hook out there and you catch one, and here it comes back to you, not in form of bread, but in form of that nice big bass that you were hoping to catch one day. Anyway, what goes round comes round is what he's starting to say. So get it out there. Get it out there. He says in verse 2, give a serving to 7 and also to 8, for you do not know what evil will be on the earth. You don't have to be a Christian for a real long time to find out that the number 7 is one of those numbers that means something in the Hebrew culture. And what does that mean? Okay, it means complete. 7 days of creation, and the earth was complete. And so it came to 7 came to represent a complete amount of time, the 7 days of the week, 7 days of creation. And so what he's saying, give a serving to 7. In other words, everybody. Just give it out there and also to 8, even more. You think you got everybody, just keep serving it out there. And here's why. That little word for, here's why you do that. You don't know what evil will be on the earth. Like I put on the side, you never know when you might need something yourself. You throw it out there, the more you give in this life, the more likely it is when you need something, it'll come back to you. Somebody will give it back. If you're stingy all your life and then someday you're in need and people say, well, you didn't give me anything when I was in need or you didn't help me. So have fun. You know, these are just generally true things. It doesn't always happen that way. There's always the good guy. I don't care how rough you treat them, how badly you treat them, they're going to treat you good no matter what. Sue's one of those people. Her family treated her bad, but she doesn't treat them spitefully. Um, so uh, this is generally true things. These proverbs are generally true. Bottom line is though, share your wealth, but also he says, and be active. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves on the earth. If they get full, they're going to get so full that they get heavy enough that the water droplets start hitting each other because they're so close together, so full. They hit each other and get bigger. They hit another one and get bigger, bigger. Finally, they get big enough to drop out of the sky. If we are full, if we live life like it should be lived, then just like the rain, the blessing of rain comes out of the clouds when they're full. The blessings of our life will come out of us when we're full. If we're full and sharing it out with other people, the rain will happen in our life. The good blessings will happen. He also says that, and if a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where a tree falls, there it shall lie. I don't know. Sue and I watch some videos once in a while. Maybe it's just me. Uh, but these videos of people doing stupid stuff, and there's always one in there, somebody with a chainsaw. The house is right there, the car is right there, a nice fence there. There's a big wide place for it to fall, but they're buzzing along, and sure enough, that tree falls right on the house, or right on their car, or right down on their fence, or whatever. Where that tree falls, that's where it's going to fall, and you're not gonna be stopping it from doing it. Uh, Life happens, and you don't have any control over it. Just like you don't have any control over which way a tree falls once it gets going. Um, you can take precautions, and somebody that knows what they're doing can make the tree fall wherever they want to. But if a tree falls in the wild or somebody doesn't know how to do it, it's going to fall where it's going to fall. And that's all, nothing you can do about it. That's how life is. Things happen that are too big for you. They're bigger than you are. And when they happen, they happen. And that's the way it's going to be. In verse 4, he who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. This is these are proverbs about literally about farming. A farmer, if he's so worried, he pays attention to the wind. Okay, now if the wind's like this, I better not sow. He's probably not going to ever sow because the wind is never going to be perfect for it. Generally true. These are proverbs. Um, he who regards the clouds will not reap. If you're watching the clouds all the time, thinking, "Oh, I got a little more time, got a little more time." Uh-oh, it just rained. Now I don't have a crop. Whatever. Um, these are proverbs. You've got to you've got to well, to use a farming idiom, you got to make hay while the sun shines. You can't be just keeping your eye on everything because you don't know how it's going to happen. You watch the wind, you know what it is right now. What's it going to be in 2 minutes? Do you know? No. You watch the clouds. It's not raining right now, but you know what's going to happen in 2 minutes? No, you don't. And so make hay while the sun shines. Be active. Do uh, what you can while you can.
Doesn't that also mean that this person is not trusting himself to do the right thing. Like, I don't want to sow because the seeds away. Lord, it's not going to rain, and I need it to rain as soon as I put those seeds in the ground.
Right.
Nothing is ever going to be a perfect time for anything. So just live your life.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and as we've learned, there's a time for everything under heaven, a time to sow, a time to, time to plant, a time to reap. And you just got to live according to the times. Uh, over the history of mankind, we learned that, okay, the time to sow is such and such a time, depending on the part of the world you live in, and the time to reap is such and such a time. You don't want to take chances on stuff. You just do it when it's supposed, when the time comes. And so, just like what Sue said, if you don't sow because you think I'm going to wait till it's going to rain, you may not ever sow. Uh, it may rain first, and then I should have sowed already. So anyway, bottom line is just be active, get yourself out there, get your blessings out there, use some wisdom, know that things happen that you can't control, and uh, do things according to the proper time. Verse 5, he says, as you do not know what is the way of the wind, or how the bones grow in the womb of her who is with child, so you do not know the works of God who makes everything. How many know-it-alls do we have out there that call themselves scientists? They think they know so much about things. They don't. Have you ever had a weather report that didn't come true? A better question would be, have you ever had one that did? Once in a while, they're right. But for the most part, you don't know which way the wind's going to blow. They can map from the satellites in the sky and see things and make better predictions perhaps than they used to 100 years ago. But even now, with all the scientific stuff, you just have to laugh. Tomorrow's going to be beautiful. Tomorrow comes and it's raining cats and dogs. Or tomorrow it's going to rain. We're going to get a blizzard, 20 inches of snow, and then 2 flakes come down. You, we don't know that, and we're not intended really to know it. We're not intended to know how the bones grow in the womb. All we need to know is what? That they do grow in the womb. And after 9 months, that little person that comes out of the womb is a fully developed human being. Got bones and skin and a heart and lungs and all that kind of stuff. But we don't know how that works. In the same way, we don't know the works of God who makes everything. We don't know how or why God does what he does. We do know that not everything that happens is him doing it, because we've already seen in Ecclesiastes that time and chance happen to us all. God lets things run to a certain extent, and he intervenes at certain times when his wisdom says, I need to intervene. That's why prayer works. Sometimes we can change his mind. Moses changed God's mind when God was going to destroy the children in the wilderness. And so prayer does work. God does work, but God also lets things happen that are going to happen. And when a tree falls, it falls where it's going to fall, that sort of thing. We don't know about God. We should not second guess him. I could curse God, blame him. Oh, my sister just learned that she probably has cancer. Why did you do that? No, I don't know how God works. I don't know that he did that. There could be a judgment that he's bringing on the family, but I don't know. All I can do is look at that and say, well, okay, this is a bad thing happening to my sister. I need to take it to heart. That's what he says about it's better to go to the house of mourning than the house of mirth because the people will take it to heart. They'll think about it when somebody has passed away and you go to their funeral. That's when you think about your own self. And so we don't know the works of God. And so we should not second guess him. All we should do is go based on what we know about him. He gave us the sun and the moon and the clouds and the rain and the fresh water that comes down out of the mountains. He gave us all those good things. What does that tell us about God? He's a good God and that he loves us. He loves his people. So based on that, don't second guess him and say things like cursing the king. A little bird hears it. Well, if you curse God, there's a little bird that gets to him too. In fact, I don't think even there has to be a little bird. He just knows it because he's all around. But anyway, we don't know that. And so uh, we just need to live our life accordingly. He says in verse 6, in the morning, sow your seed, and in the evening, do not withhold your hand. And here's why. You do not know which will prosper, either this or that, whether both alike will be good. You don't know. So when it's sowing time, sow in the morning, sow in the evening, because you don't know which one might prosper the most or whether both alike will be the same. In other words, make hay while the sun shines. When it's time to plant, plant. Plant all day, get it done. And that's the same way with all of life. When we have opportunity, we need to make the best of it. We have opportunities to learn about God. Make the best of it. Um, don't wait till, well, as soon as I learn a little bit more or get a little bit more mature, then I'll start studying or whatever. No, you need to do it while you have the opportunity and let things fall where they will. Okay, so the next verse, verses 7 through 9, he talks about, well, first he's talking about being active. Now he's talking about the attitude that we should take while we're being active. He says, verse 7, truly the light is sweet and it is pleasant for the eyes to behold the sun. Okay, if you stay cooped up in your office all day where you never see the sun, do you get the blessing, the pleasantness of the sun? Or if you, I have a brother-in-law who loves to ride a bike, and his idea is, I'm just going to get as many miles as I can. That's all he cares about. He gets on the bike and he's looking down at the road, and he never sees the thing on to the right or the left, just what's straight in front of him. And he can ride 20 miles and couldn't tell you a thing he saw or anything that was on either side of the road. Uh, he's not enjoying it, but that stuff is sweet. The light is sweet. Enjoy it. It's pleasant for the eyes to behold the sun. And I'm not saying staring directly at the sun, but the effects of the sun, that's what God gave it. All that stuff to us for was to enjoy, to get the sweetness out of it, to get the pleasantness out of it. Verse 80 says, if a man lives many years and rejoices in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they will be many. All that is coming is vanity. Sounds pretty depressing. I know that. He's not trying to be depressing. He's trying to say, let's get practical, folks. The light is sweet. The sun is pleasant to behold. Look at it while you can. Enjoy the blessings of God while you can. But at the same time, even if you live a long time and have many years and you rejoice in them all, you can't forget one thing. Time and chance happen to us all, but also we all, what did he say two or three times in Ecclesiastes? The same thing happens to everyone. And what same thing is that?
Let's look at this.
We all meet our end. That's the one same thing that happens to us all. Many other little things happen to us each differently along the way, but we all have the same thing. And if you live long enough, there's going to be days of darkness. As he says, remember those days of darkness are coming. Who's he talking to first and foremost? Rehoboam. Does a young kid generally think about what's going to happen when he's 80, 90? Not so much. Doesn't even want to think about that. Wouldn't know what to think about if he did. So he's going to get reminded in the next chapter. But he's saying, he starts off by saying that remember the days of darkness because they're coming. And all that's coming is vanity. What does vanity mean? Empty, meaningless. Life itself, our life here on this earth, in one respect, is meaningless. He says there's no profit, and what profit is taking away more than you started with. We start with nothing, and we're going to end up with nothing. What we leave when we leave this earth is going to be exactly what we arrived with, and that's nothing. So, in one sense, everything that happens to us is emptiness. But instead of being depressed about that, we need to do what he said 6 times already. I perceive that what is good for a man to do is to enjoy what you have, the blessings of God, while you have it. 6 times he said that, and that is what we need to do. We can live many years and rejoice in it, and that's what we're supposed to do. That's how we're supposed to live our life, is enjoy what God has given to us. But there are dark days coming, and you're going to have to face those as well. And it all doesn't mean anything in the long run. Now, why does it mean anything in the long run? It's because when we die, everything is left here. We go someplace else. We go to, hopefully, we go to a better, more wonderful existence. But if we didn't enjoy the life that we lived while we did it, if we didn't consider the end's coming, better make hay while the sun shines, what we've been talking about, throwing bread on the waters and all that kind of stuff. If we didn't do that, life is totally meaningless. The only thing life is good for is life on earth, I should say, is good for is to enjoy what God gave us. You look around and there's so billions and billions of blessing out there if we just had our eyes open to it. That's what he's saying. The next verse he says, rejoice, O young man. Notice he's talking to a young man, obviously, Rehoboam. Rejoice in your youth. Be happy. Enjoy your youth. Let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. That's what you're supposed to do. Don't spend your time, your youth, worrying about stuff and worrying about how, how much money you got and all that kind of stuff. Enjoy it. Let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. That's what you're supposed to do. It's okay. It's okay to enjoy life. There is a qualification to that, which he will talk about right here and in the next chapter. He says, walk in the ways of your heart. Do what you want to do. And in the sight of your eyes, when you see something that you want to do it. Don't just sit back and wait for life to happen. But in the process of doing this, in the process of enjoying your life as a young person, just he said, there's a but there. There's always a but, isn't there? Enjoy. Well, great. I can go out, eat, drink, and be merry. Because no, you can go out and enjoy life, but know that for all these, God will bring you into judgment. God cares about how you live this life. And you're going to have to answer to him for the way you do it. God gave you this life. God gave you all these blessings to enjoy. But there are ways to enjoy it, and then there's ways to abuse what he has given to us. You're going to have to answer for that. All right, we have a few minutes left to look at the last verse. The last verse is, the chapter break should have been right here instead of verse 10 really should be in chapter 12, but verse 10 in chapter 11 through chapter 12, verse 7, he's saying essentially, look carefully at your future under the sun. What's going to happen to you while you live this life before you come to the end of your life? Look carefully how the future is going to be for you. And so he says, therefore, when you see therefore, there's always you have to look at what it's there for. He's saying God's going to bring you into judgment. Enjoy life. Therefore, remove sorrow from your heart. And that word sorrow can be translated in the Hebrew, the idea of low spirits or discontent. Get that out of your life. There's no reason for you to be down in the dumps, for you to be discontent, not happy with what you have. No matter how little you think you have, there's blessings in there for you. We've talked about that before, talking about the people that live in the small villages in remote Africa, how they have a smile on their face all the time, but yet they don't have anything hardly at all. They just enjoy what God has given to them. That's the same way we need to be, and that's what he's telling his son here. Remove those low spirits. Don't be down. Don't let yourself get down. Don't let yourself be a malcontent, always complaining about stuff. Remove those things from your heart. Put away evil from your flesh. Remember, he has just said all the stuff that you do, you're going to answer to God for it. So make sure it's not evil things that you do in your flesh, life under the sun. And he says, here's why all this. Childhood and youth are vanity. It doesn't get you anywhere to be discontent or to be in low spirits, going around moping around or complaining or whatever. Doesn't get you anywhere. All the happiness you do and everything, no matter how you spend it, it's meaningless as far as life is concerned under the sun. When that life is done, it's behind you. It has nothing for you in the future as far as life under the sun, how to enjoy life. That's what he's been trying to teach us, is how to live your life on this earth while you live here. In chapter 12, he's going to bring the final conclusion, which is fear God and keep his commandments. This is the whole man. This is what we're here for, is to respect God and follow his commandments. And why does God even give commandments? Does he give commandments because he's just mean and wants to make all these rules? Why does he make the rules? It's for us. It's for us to get the very best thing out of this life. And so even in life under the sun, that's part of it, is living according to what God wants us to do. That's how to find happiness in this life. Oh, you can think, oh man, the more money I get, great, so I'll steal something. No, that's not following God's command. Are you going to be happy that you stole? Either you're going to feel guilty about it, or you're going to get caught, or whatever you stole it's not going to come out good for you. That's not how life works under the sun. You have to make the best of life the way God intended for it to be. That's why he gave us everything that he gave us, is to use it, but use it the way he wants, that he knows is best for us, the commands that he's given to us. That's how to do what's best for us. Well, this thought doesn't stop here. It just continues on to verse 7 of chapter 12, but we're going to deal with that next week. So any questions or comments